session. Hello everyone, welcome to Microsoft 365 Virtual Marathon. Hope you have been enjoying this conference so far. And before we start this session, I would like to share about this conference. That this conference is brought to you by Microsoft 365 Collaboration Conference, which is going to held next year in month of March at Las Vegas. And we are thankful for these amazing sponsors who made this event such a strong, and we are very thankful for all their support. And hope you have heard of this Russell Prizes, which is Oculus Quest. So visit the vendor booths and sessions and watch the videos, and maybe if you are lucky, you can win. So today we will be talking about in next few minutes regarding Power Platform scenarios and its architecture, regarding COE Starter Kit, then security and monitoring in the Power Platform, DevOps with Power Platform, and ALM. And I will be sharing some of the reference links which will be helpful for you to get started with the administration for the Power Platform. So my name is Dipti Chhatrapati, and I live in Navi Mumbai, India, which is like a suburb of Mumbai, and I enjoy living here. I'm modern workplace architect at Applied Information Science, and I'm also member of Microsoft Regional Director Program. These days, my favorite areas of interest is Microsoft Identity, Security, and Power Platform, and that's why this session. So I originally belong to Gujarat, and therefore my mother tongue is Gujarati, while my national language is Hindi, and I often speak in English while communicating with community friends or even at work. So anyways, that was enough of me. Now let's talk about the Power Platform. You might have seen this slide in a lot of sessions already. What about components of the Power Platform? So there is a Power Apps, which is the tool set for low-code app development. There are 3 styles of applications that you can create, which is the Canvas application, model-driven, and portal app, right? And there is a Power Automate. So it offers the automated workflows that is available across service using connectors. Then the automation can be triggered to run when events occurs. For example, if new item has been created in the SharePoint list or new email has been arrived in Outlook, then there is a Power BI that offers capabilities to help you discover and explore insights from your data. Then the Power Virtual Agents, which is the latest features in the Power Platform family, using which you can easily create powerful bots using a guided or even no-code graphical interfaces without the need for data scientists or even developers. Then there is a Common Data Service, which is a mature data platform to manage data used by business applications. There are then more than 275 connectors that make it easy for application builders to connect to both Microsoft and third-party services from Dynamics 365 to Dropbox. And these connectors allows Canvas applications and flows to easily use API service without any developer knowledge. Then there is an AI Builder, which is a platform capability that allows easily adding AI into the Power Automate or Power Application or even Dynamics 365 first-party apps. This enables developers and even citizen developers and makers to automate tasks and predict outcomes without having to involve data scientists. And then there are on-premises data gateway, which you can use to connect your on-premises data. And there is a Power Apps component framework that you can use to make the user UI interface that you can use in different applications or even different screens in the same Power Apps application. So the Power Platform is here basically to empower everyone. Power Platform provides a low-code interface for any user to quickly create custom applications while simultaneously providing robust tools for pro developers. This makes it possible to integrate innovative solutions across Azure, Modern Workplace, Dynamics 365, and standalone application. And that's how it gives the customer the power to innovate anywhere while unlocking the value everywhere. It is a flexible platform and can be utilized in several different types of scenarios. For example, it can be used as an individual or team productivity application with self-service scenarios, like users are empowered to take their own ideas of how they can optimize what they do every day and express them in the form of Power Apps or Power Automation. Then the Dynamic 365 application. So these first-party Microsoft applications are built on, therefore, deployed into Power Apps and Power Apps environment and utilize the common data service for data storage and core platform services. Then there is apps for app sources. In addition to the Microsoft built apps, the third-party ISVs can also build on top of the Power Apps platform and are found via the App Source marketplace. Then SharePoint, Power BI, and Teams. So Power Apps, Canvas apps can also be embedded into the applications users are already using. So often this increases the user adoption because they don't have to learn a totally new application from what they are doing. Then the Canvas and model-driven apps can be embedded as a tab in a Microsoft Teams. Then other scenario is for the mission critical line of business application. So using the same tools and techniques Microsoft uses to build Dynamics 365, enterprise customers can build their own line of business application similarly. So these differ from the individual productivity scenario that they often solve broader, more complex problems. So as an enterprise administrator, you will be putting in place the necessary licensing, then policies, then security setup and monitoring configurations processes to ensure the success of the teams and eventually the whole organization. So to understand the administrative deployment at scale, keep this high five in the minds, and I have defined all these points into 1 kilometer. So we are going to run 5 kilometers, although my session is running in the mile 6. So first, establish an environment strategy. Restrict the creation of new or trial and production environment to admins, and automate a process for requesting new environments. Second, set up data data loss prevention policies, leverage out of the box activity logs and analytics. Third, learn from the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, which is amazing tool chain that you can use in your current environment that is meant to govern and nurture your organization, that we will talk later. And then establish and automate your audit processes, empower your colleagues and customers on how to nurture organic growth and adoption in your organization, which will be the case when you learn and grasp the whole Power Platform. So let's begin our first kilometer run, where we will be learning about planning the environment strategy. So before we do that, what are those things that we have to consider? So for example, what and which type of environments are currently exist? What is the purpose of the default environment? What is the purpose of region that is associated with the environment? Who can create environment, or who can manage the environment, right? So let's have a look at the quick glance on environment. So environments are containers that administrators use to manage application workflows, then connections and other assets, along with the permissions to allow organizations, users to use the resources. And each environment is, tied with the geographical location that is configured at the time when you are creating an environment. It can be also targeted with the different audiences and or for the different purposes, such as you have staged environment like development environment or test environment and even production environment. Then once you create your environment, you define the data loss prevention policies that can be applied to individual environment or even your whole tenant. And then every tenant has a default environment where all the licensed Power Apps and Power Automate users can create their apps and flows. So by default, all the users are allowed to access and create applications in the default environment the moment we have the Power Platform in place. And then there are non-default environments that can be created by licensed Power Apps and Power Automate and Dynamics users. So creation can be restricted to only global and service admins via tenant settings. And an environment can have one or zero common data service instances. So your environment either can be associated with the CDS instance, or it can be without CDS instance, where you don't really create any application that is using any entities or CDS database. So next is how to strategize these environments. So these are the 6 main points that you have to consider. Assign your admins the Dynamics 365 service admin role, or even Power Platform service admin role. So these roles provide administrative access to Power Apps, Canvas apps. I'm sorry, I think I got little bad network connectivity. Okay, so yeah, what I was saying that these roles can provide access to the Power Apps, Canvas apps, and these roles do not need the tenant level administrator. So they do not need to be a global tenant administrator. Then restrict the creation of the new or trial and production environment to admins only. So limiting the environment creation is beneficial to maintain control in general. So that provides both the capacity consumption and to reduce the number of environments to manage. So if users have to request environments from central IT, it's easier to see what people are working on and what admins have to take steps. Then treat the default environment as a personal productivity environment for your business group. So renaming the environment through the admin center is recommended to make the purpose of that environment self-explanatory. Then clearly communicate that default is never used for production use, but for personal apps, and that are meant to be used by many business groups. Then establish a process for requesting access to creation of environment. So with the environment creation lockdown and default reserved for security, specifically personal apps, make it easier to developers in your organization that a proper development project should be started by requesting a new dedicated environment where there is a clear communication of intent and support between developers and admins. Then the second last point is for development, test, and production environment for specific business groups or applications. So in a typical scenario, each project or business unit have their own set of development, test, and production environment to develop solutions. So having staged environment ensure that changes during the development does not break the end user in production and data is not conflicted or corrupted. and then individual use environments for proof of concept or even for the training workshops. You basically to host workshops, hackathons, and internal training events like app in a day or flow in a day, create a new separate environment for the event to keep everyone organized. So ask the users to save the resources they need in a short term after the event, clean up the environment, or even reset for other events. So you don't need to do creating environment for the same purpose. So let's have a quick look on the environment. So I will switch on my Power Platform Admin Center, and here, as you see, I can click on environments, and I don't have more environments. I have created one development environment and one which is the default environment. So let me go to the default environment. And once you click there, you will see all the settings that is applicable to this environment. For example, if I want to secure this environment to for a specific other AD group, I can just click on edit, and here I can specify the security group. No. I have to see that why I'm not getting this option, but then usually you can specify the security group, or even if you want to go further, because I have this CDS database assigned with this environment, I can just click on settings, which is on the top, and go to the users and permissions, and then click on users. So you will see the list of all users that are those are assigned with this environment. So let me go back, and apart from this users and permissions, you can see other settings as well. You can also see the security roles, like what are the security roles that are defined for this environment. You can check and see the configuration for the audit and logs, and you can see the product details, and then the other resources. So what I have done is I have created, I already have this default environment. For development purpose, I have created this new development environment where I will only create application where I can make a frequent changes. And then there are a couple of plans using which user can create their own development environment. So here you see that there are developer environments which has been created individually by each user. For example, this user has created this environment by using the community plan subscription for the Power Platform. So that was a quick view on the environment. Let me back to my slide. Now, with this, we have completed our first 1 kilometer run. Let's go back, not back. Let's move forward with our second run, which is 2 kilometer, which is we have to finish. Yeah. So the second step is configuring COE Starter kit. Now, let's have a look of the quick glance on the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, which is a tool chain provided by Microsoft. And it is basically a collection of components and tools that are designed to help you get started with developing a strategy for adopting and supporting Microsoft Power Platform with a focus on Power Apps and Power Automate. So a Center of Excellence is used to drive innovation and improvement that brings together the team or like-minded people with the similar business goals to share knowledge and their success, while at the same time providing standards, consistency, and governance around the whole Power Platform and within the organization. So establishing the Center of Excellence kit and apps is not a requirement to be effective with the Power Platform, although having one has had a positive effect on adoption and ease of administration for a couple of tasks that you can perform using the Power App. using the COE app. So these are a couple of COE Starter Kit apps which are there, and uh, so there is already Power Platform Admin Center, right? So why should we install these apps? Because these apps allows us the UI which Admin Center doesn't. So, for example, you can extract and archiving unused Power Apps by just starting the flow. So it will start the approval process and check the applications which are not modified in last 6 months, and will send an email to the owner of that application whether they need this app or not, and it will start further approval process. So this way it helps to reduce the capacity of the environment by deleting unused apps. Then there is a DLP editor, using which you can view how Power Apps in your tenant are affected by DLP policies. Then you can also set the permission of app owner in the of Power application, which is currently not possible when you share the Power Apps application, right? So these are a couple of tasks which has been implemented using UI that usually can be performed using the PowerShell command. This app also has the amazing this Power BI dashboard, where you can extract the information related to your environment, how your Power application and Power Automate flows are progressing, or is there any errors, what are the users and how they are using it, what is the geographical location of those apps and users. That you can find out with a few more insights through this Power BI dashboard available in the COE kit. And then there is the flow that defines the auditing process. So that will verify your compliance details of an app. So what it does is it will allow an user to start checking the compliance of the application, whether this application meets certain requirements which is compliant with the organization or not. So those are types of approval processes or auditing processes can be started by flow that is available in the COE kit, which you can use in Power Platform adoption and innovation. So let's move further. So let me just open my browser and show you what are those components that are involved in the COE kit. So for example, let me go to my Power Apps portal here. And I will be moving to my default environment because that is where I have installed the COE kit. So I'm already in my default environment, which is InsightsRoom. I go to the solutions here, and what this package contains is that these three, let me just expand this since it's not. All right, so these three main components of the Center of Excellence, the governance component, which is providing the sample audit process, then archiving unused apps, then act based on a certain connector usage. Then the core component, that is having the catalog, tenant resources, then DLP policy management processes. There is a developer compliance center where the maker can provide a justification for the application. Then there is a nurture component that has the process for onboarding a new maker or providing a training and share best practices. Also encouraging the the adoption by managing the app in a flow or admin in a day. Flow in a day or admin in a day events. So these are three solutions which you have to install on your environment, and when you go to the apps, you will see all this. So I have a couple of apps already in my environment, and I have differentiated all the COE apps by specifying the COE before the application name. So there is a DLP editor, DLP customizer, developer compliance center, template catalog, app catalog, training in a day management. So let me just go to the set new app owner. So this particular action is actually currently not available in Power Platform Admin Center. So what you can do is, here I am already in my default environment. And okay, I have to click on my default environment, which is here inside Chrome. So it will display all the apps available on this. So what I'll be doing is I will just go and choose any app. Which one I should use? Okay, let me select the service desk tablet. So once I go there, it will having a list of users and their roles. Like, for example, this user is having a permission of view. This user can even edit. That means the owner or co-owner of the app, not owner of the app. So so when you share an application, you don't have a possibility of making a user a owner of the application. So here, this app provides the user to make an owner. So what I'll be doing is I will be making this user an owner. So I just need to click on make owner, and it will just replace the owner with this user, and that's it. And you can also even add new users here as well. And let me go back and click on the DLP editor. So as you see here, this user is now owner of this application. All right, let me click on the DLP editor. So a DLP editor is nothing but, it provides a view like which DLP policies affecting which app. So what you have to do is click on start. I'm just not going through all this tools. Click on start. And as of now, I don't have any DLP policy created. So what I'll be doing is I'll try to add one. And so as you, maybe we will be talking a little bit more about the DLP policies, but then there are two groups, which is business data only and non-business data. So by clicking this, it will go to the business data only group, and then it will list out all the applications that is affected with this type of policy. So what you have to choose, which connector you should put into the into any of this, the business group. So this is how you can customize and create DLP policies in the DLP editor in the one place for the different environment. So that was all about the COE kit. Although there are a lot of things, there are a lot of other apps, but we don't have enough time to go through all these applications and automate. Although I would like to go to the Power BI dashboard, because it has a lot of insights that you can, go and check. And let me go, which is my workspace. So this is where I have actually installed my dashboard report, which is available out of the box with the COE Starter kit. So what you have to do is go click on the overview of the Power App. So it will list out the environments and then who is the top app maker. Then if you click on the environment, it will give you the whole idea of environment. And remember that these analytics is providing the details of the last 28 days, which is why it's saying that in last 20 days, how many environment have been created. Of course, I don't have enterprise workload, which is why I have only one environment. You can also go and check about all the applications, available in your environment. For example, right now there are total 34 applications how many created by this month, what are the top app makers, and how many canvas applications and model driven applications. So all these insights are easily not available into the Power Platform Admin Center. There are a lot of other things which you can go and explore by installing this here. And with this, we have completed our 2-kilometer run. So let's need a lot of energy because this topic is little critical. And so it's about the setting up the security and monitoring. So, all right. So generally, security in the platform is there to ensure users can do the work they need to do with the least amount of issues or conflicts while still protecting the data and services. So although licensing is the first control gate to allowing access to Power Apps components, there are still 5 levels of security that makes a security model of the whole Power Platform. So first is the users are authenticated by the Azure Active Directory, and the use of the apps can be restricted using the conditional access policy as well. Then the second layer of security gives the ability to create applications and workflow, which is controlled by security roles in the context of the environment. Then the users have ability to see and use Power Platform resources, which is further controlled by sharing the application with the user, right? So you might have shared apps and flows and even connectors. So that's where you define which users you want to, share your resources. Then environments with a common data service instance add support for more advanced security, because CDS is having a lot of security roles, and even you can create your new role, which is not possible with the environment without CDS. So having a CDS is really a game changer for entire Power Platform, because it enables you to create an application with the portals, AI builder, and a lot of more features in terms of the security. Then there is a connector use that can be further restricted with the data loss prevention policies. And also with there is a possibility of cross-tenant inbound and outbound restriction that can also be applied on the connectors. So it is important to note that when accessing data sources via connectors, all the underlying security that the data sources offers is in addition to the layers of these 5 levels of security. So therefore, user must have access to the data that they are really, using on the Power Apps application in Power Platform. So let's quickly go through all these security. So for conditional service access, global admin or even Power Platform admin would need Azure Edit Premium license. Without that, they cannot define this policy, which can be further, filtered by users or groups or even device or even, the location of the user. So that's how it gives by defining the conditional access policy. In Azure AD, it provides the security level in different scenarios. Then there are environment security and access control. So as I said earlier, if you are creating an environment at first place without CDS database, there will be the environment rules. And the moment you are adding the CDS instance with your environment, all the environment roles will be migrated with the CDS with the CDS instances. For example, you have environment administrator role in your environment, and the moment you add the CDS instance in your environment, the same role will be converted into the system administrator. So there is a different set of security rules in CDS environment. Now let's see how we share the resources. So for example, when we share an Power Apps application, we have two roles that we can define while sharing in Power Apps application. One is the co-owner and another is the end user. So if you are not unchecking this co-owner, the automatically user will be end user, and that user will not be able to edit then Power Apps application. Then there is a custom connector where you can invite other users and share the same connector. So using that that access, the user can create applications or flows without creating new connectors. And then there is the possibility of creating portal apps. So these portal apps further allows to define more security in terms of the external users access, which is not really possible when we define the anonymous access. So that is something which is possible in Power Apps portal by defining the security role in the CDS instance. And you might have already knew that how we share the flow so that other users can be co-authoring the same flow. So in flow, there is this role called co-authoring, right? Now let's talk about the fourth security, which is security with CDS in an environment. So as I said earlier, in the CDS, we can define the granular level of security, as you see in the left-hand side of the screen. When you create a new security role, you can also define which entity you want to allow the permission for the user to access. You can also define other discrete privileges for that new security role that you can further assign to the user in your environment. And as I said, that data can be secured down at the field level as well, which is not possible without CDS. So in CDS, there is this capability of securing entity as well as securing the field level data. So for example, if you are using some field that you don't want your users to see, then you can define, in that situation, you can define the field level security. So you can allow a specific group of users to see those data. Now, in the fourth point also, as I said, there are environment security roles. So this table says nothing but how the same level of security is considered in a different persona. For example, if environment has CDS instance or it doesn't have a CDS instance. For example, environment admin, as I said, it will be the system administrator security role in an environment which has a CDS. And if the environment has no CDS, then it will be environment administrator role. And then there is a environment maker, which using that role you can create resources, or if the CDS is provisioned, then can optionally be assigned maker access to the database as well. So now the fifth layer of security is the cross-tenant inbound and outbound restriction. So this is the final security level, is a cross-tenant inbound and outbound restriction, right? So where by default, all tenant users are allowed to have access to other tenants. So for example, here Fabricam and Contoso can establish a connection with each other using their own credentials. With tenant restrictions, organizations can control access to the cloud applications as well, based on the other AD tenant, the application used for a single sign-on or not. For example, you may want to allow access to your organization's Office 365 applications while preventing the access to other organization instances of this same level of same application. So basically, you can restrict the other tenants to be connected with your tenants using this cross-tenant inbound and outbound restrictions, and that can be applied on the on your Power Platform application. So for example, here with cross-tenant outbound restrictions, users are blocked connecting with the other tenants, while with cross-tenant access restrict inbound users. So while with this type of configurations, outside users would not be able to connect with your tenant. And to implement this, you have to actually request to the support for the Power Apps and Power Automate Microsoft support. So with this, no, we are still running. The other types of security that you can define, which is the data policies that enforces the rules for which connectors can be used together. So there are two types of business data groups. One is the business data only, and another is the business data allowed. So when you're creating an app, if your connectors coming from the same group, then you will be able to create an application. But if your connectors are coming from the two different groups, then your application will not work because your organization doesn't allow to mix those two connectors, because let's say your all business data are stored in SharePoint, and your organization don't want that your SharePoint data get exposed on other social media. So what they will be doing is they will be adding those social media connectors in the no business data allowed, and SharePoint into the business data only. So whenever the user is creating an application with all these two connectors, they will never be getting a success on that. So how to strategize this DLC policies then? So what you have to do is create a policy spanning all the environments that blocks all unsupported non-Microsoft connectors, and classifies all Microsoft connectors as a business data. Second, create a policy for the default environment that further restrict which Microsoft connectors are classified as a business data. And for creating additional policies, or you can exclude some environments by creating additional policies that permit the certain connectors or connector combination to be used to specific environment only. So these are a couple of scenarios that you can consider strategizing your DLP policies. So let me just give you one example of the DLP policy. As here you see, in the business data only group, there is a common data service, and rest of all the connectors are considered as a no business data allowed. So whenever user is creating a SharePoint and OneDrive, because these two connectors are coming from the same business group, the application will succeed. But if there is a connector coming, there is a connector of common data service and SharePoint, then in that case, application will throw an error, as you see here, which is not only Power Apps, but even the flow gets failed, saying that, for example, here the message says configure data policy prevents activation of flows which use common data service and Office 365 connectors. So I have taken the screenshot from the different data policies, but this is how usually the error shows for when the policies are break. So 3 kilometers is not still stopped, we have a monitoring process for the Power Platform as well. So the analytics section that you can see in the portals allows you to drill down into the capacity, common data service, Power Automated, and even Power Apps analytics. So and the data is refreshed in this analytics report on a daily basis, and more frequent, and sometimes in some cases it is refreshed more frequently. But at present, it is retained only for the 28 days, and which is why in COE Kits you were able to see the reports based on the last 28 days. So the analytics section follows three design concepts, which is one, adoption, usage, and health. So following these principles, you will be able to ensure high quality adoption, usage, and overall health of the whole platform. So what are those questions that you should consider while monitoring your platform? So you should see what policies do we already have, what users are already licensed. So you can always look at the individual user licensing in the Office 365 Admin Center by drilling down into specific users from the Power Apps Admin Center. You can also produce a report focused on Power Apps licenses only from the Power Apps Admin Center. You go to the tenant from the left-hand side and click on the user licensing, which will give you the Excel sheet of all your Power Apps users that to whom the flow or Power Platform licenses are assigned. So in generally, the full Power Apps and Power Automate capabilities are licensed on a standalone basis, and there are two licenses. One is the per user per app or per flow plan, and in this license, it allows end user to run two custom applications and access one custom portal. And then there is another plan, which is per user unlimited plan, where each user can run unlimited flow and apps. Anyways, the name is the per user plan, not unlimited plan, but then I consider it that way just to better understand. Then there is a self-service service purchase, which can be enabled or disabled, meaning individual user without connecting to the IT can purchase these services. So Power Apps capability can be purchased by individual in your organization for their own use. Then the storage capacity. So in terms of storage, common data service capacity is having database, then the files and logs and even add-ons. So these four things are pulled across the tenant and shared against all environments and workloads. So the first subscription, Power App, Power Automate, or Dynamic 365 customer engagement provides a one-time default capacity entitlement for the tenant. And to create an environment, you would minimum need at least 1 GB of the storage capacity. Otherwise, you will not be able to create environment. So as far as I know, at present, there is no specific limit of creating number of environments. The restriction is based on the storage capacity, whether you have at least more than 1 GB of storage capacity. Then there are add-ons. There is an API capacity, which is another key licensing concept to be aware of. It is which shows the the request limits and allocation. Then the use of connectors. Then there are trial plans which individual user can acquire for example, they can go for the trial plans as well as the community developer plans. Then so these are all the details that you need to usually monitor in order to take decisions regarding your Power Platform usage, right? So let's move to how to create a security roles in in Power Platform Admin Center, and also we will go through. We have already seen this managing DLP policies using COE app and setting app owners. So we will exclude these two demos. But then we will go to the monitoring Power Platform usage. So let me go to my admin center here. And what I'll be doing is I will go to the Power Platform admin center and I click on environment and I click on my default environment. I further click on settings. Then I click on users and permissions, click on security roles, which will give me all the list of the security roles that are available in the CDS instance of this environment. Usually Dynamics 365 takes some time to load. Hope it loads soon. And if you want to see the analytics report, there is this item which you can expand and click on the capacity. So the moment you click on capacity, it will give you the what is the storage capacity of your environment is having. For example, I don't have even 1 GB data left, so I can't create even any kind of environment in my platform. So this is how you can make the decision. And then what is the top storage usage by environment. So usually you know which environment is more often active. But sometimes it could be possible that some environment get sudden spike on the usage, and by looking at this chart, you can decide what is happening in that environment, right? So based on this summary of the storage capacity, you can see the usage report of the environment. Then you further click on the common data service, where you can see the count of the API calls, how many active users are there, what is the API pass rate, which is 100%. I'm surprised. Few days back it was around 80%. So I think that my platform is currently working really well. And then there is an entity usage, because my environment is having a CDS data associated with that. I can see different entity usages chart and see, and I can verify whether my environment is doing well or not. Then there are system jobs. These jobs are usually the background jobs of the common data service. So based on this rate, you can see whether it's good or there is something which I should really look at it. And then there is an analytics report for Power Automate. So here in Power Automate, it will show the chart of total daily runs or weekly runs. Then the usage, showing the data of types of flows in use, how many flows are there, how many runs against each flow, and what is the trend of the Power Automate. Then under created tab, you can further see types of flows created, and then how the flow has been created, right? Whether it was scheduled flow or Power Apps button clicked flow. Then if there are any errors under Power Automate, which you can check it out directly based on this chart. And in the shared, you can see how many flows have been shared, because I'm the only the user who is using the whole environment. I haven't shared my flows with anybody. So these reports are blank. And then there are reports on the connectors as well. Which flows are using which connector, and how many flow runs by each connector. All these analytics report you can see under Power Automate Analytics. Similarly, we have the analytics for the Power Apps as well, in terms of the usage, in terms of location. If there are any errors, you can see how the connectors of the Power Apps applications are performing. So this is how you can monitor all your Power Platform. And let's now move to our CDS instance, where you can see this whole list of security roles. And the moment you create a new role, now again, this is going to take some time. Oh, thankfully it didn't. So let me give a name like test role. And if I go to the customization, this is where I can define the different level of permissions, or you can say rights, like whether I want to give, for example, import job entity the read permissions and delete permission, but not write permission. So these are the types of security you can define at the entity level, as well as there are some miscellaneous privileges that you can define in the security role. So these type of security configuration usually not possible in the environment which doesn't have CDS instance. So this was all about security and monitoring. I could have showed you about how to create the conditional access policies and stuff, but I think we will be running out of time. But you can go and check by taking the Azure AD premium license, and by creating the conditional access policy, restrict them based on the device and locations, right? So let's move. And I hope that we have now finished the 3-kilometer run here. Yes, we did. So the next 1-kilometer run, we need to finish with the topic about establishing the audit process, right? This is a very important topic because that is what is actually nurturing your whole Power Platform. So in terms of auditing, there are two categories. One is the Office 365 activity logging, which is available in Power Apps and Power Automate, which is actually available in the Office 365 Compliance Center, where you can see the activities related to Power Apps and Power Automate. So this allows seeing when activities like apps or flows are created or edited or deleted along with the other key activities. You can view auditing for the last 90 days in terms of the Office 365 Compliance Center, while in Power Platform Admin Center, you can see only 28 analytics report of last 28 days. Then there is a common data service auditing, which is where you can define the auditing at the entity level, at environment level, as well as at the field level. So you can know if you are running any logic problems, then you can just audit your entities, or even the field level auditing, just to verify what has happened in the past and resolve your problem. So these type of audit data is retained in common data service until the configuration is disabled or deleted. So there is no really limit of retaining your auditing data. Now the next thing in terms of auditing, also the automation of the Power Platform. So there is a PowerShell. So there are a lot of commands, PowerShell commands using which you can perform the bulk task with environments, flows, and connectors. There are Office 365 commands using which you can perform the user-related bulk task. Then Dynamic 365 commands, so using which you can perform the CDS online API and solution deployment to CDS. Then Azure commands, which is usually used for the automation related to Azure components in the solution. And then there is a Power Automate connector. So for example, you have the flow management connector, using which you can get the list of new application flows and connectors. Then flow for admin, using which you can disable or delete flows. You have Power Apps for admin connector, using which you can set permission on connectors in application. Then you have Office 365 user connector, which you can use to automate actions around users. Then the approval connector, using which you can manage the approval process. So all of these connectors you can use to automate the processes. Then there are also Power Automate templates available that you can directly use to get the list of new Power Apps or Power Automate or connectors. Then you can also invite new makers or identify champions of your Power Platform. You can establish and automate audit processes as well. For example, COE Starter Kit. So this starter kit is already using a couple of the automate templates to define the audit processes. And we have already talked about COE Starter Kit, which gives you the ability of creating the DLP policies. There is a developer compliance center. There is an admin business process workflow for the approval as well. So there are a lot of automated applications and flows available in COE Starter Kit, and I highly recommend to install these applications and see how these apps work. So let me now move to the Office 365 Admin Center to give you an idea how you can audit the data-related Power Apps and Power Automate. So you go to the Microsoft Office 365 Admin Center, and then you click on the security, which will open the Security Admin Center, which is where you will find in the left-hand side the search report. So you expand the search option and click on Audit Log Search, and which is where you can further define the activity. For example, what are the things that you want to audit? For here, there are a lot of actions that you can audit in terms of the Power BI. And if I want to see actions related to Power Apps, here it is. So you can just click on the created app if you want to audit when the app was deleted, when the app was published, all this, when the app was launched. Then there is also actions available for the Power Platform DLP activities, created DLP policies, deleted, updated. There is also the Power Automate activities. I'm not able to see right now, but I'm sure it is there. Power Apps activity, here it is. So you can also add it like when the flow was created, or when it was deleted, when the flow was renewed by user using the flow paid trial and stuff like that. So once I select this all actions, I go back and define the date. So this audit log search, you can specify the dates between the 90 days. I will keep as it is and click on search. So using this, you can get the report of when your apps or flows were created, what are those actions that has been recently performed by the users. All these details you can even export in the Excel file. So that was about the Office 365 audit log search. Now let's move to Dynamics 365. So in terms of the Dynamics 365 portal, what you have to do is you have to go to the advanced settings and click on the settings here from the top, and under system, you will find the auditing. So click there, and here in the audit summary view, you will see what are, if your entities and fields are configured for auditing, you will see all these field and entity level of audit reports under audit summary view only in the Dynamics 365. You can't see in the Power Platform. So this is how you can view the reports regarding auditing in Dynamics 365 as well as in the Security Admin Center of Office 365. Now let's move further, and we have finished the demo. We are now going to run our last 5 kilometers. So we are going to reach to our finish line, right? So regarding this, we need to understand what are the solutions and what types of solutions available. So basically the solution in the common data service provides and it's basically a containers that used to track and manage the customization in a CDS instance. So this includes the flows, canvas, and model apps, entity metadata, forms, views, and other resources which require to run the app, right? So these solutions allows DevOps engineers taking care of code evaluation or code source control and other tasks which typically would be referred to as application lifecycle management process. Meaning a solution can be exported from one environment to another environment, and this is how you move or migrate your customization. So this is commonly used to promote an application from a development instance to test, and then finally to production CDS instance. So there are two types of solutions. One is the unmanaged, which you basically create in a development environment where you can add and remove different components. You can export that solutions. While in terms of the managed solutions, you can only use, because this is the released version of your customization, so you can only deploy them on test, UAT, or prod environment. You cannot add any components here because this is the locked version of your customization, and you cannot even export this solution. Now, there are actually the layering of the solution. So what are the solution layering and how application behaves? And this is the diagram to understand how components in solution behaves in different layers and solutions. So when you create CDS instance at first place, and then whatever you see in that CDS instance are all the system solutions which you can see on the base right here in this diagram. So all the out of the box solutions which comes with the CDS are all your system solutions. Then you install managed solutions on top of the system solutions in a production environment, and user can see them. However, user will also see the components which are unmanaged and customized components. So the key point here is that application behavior is the combination of the system solutions, any managed solutions, and even any unmanaged customization. So for example, I have created an entity in my production environment that is residing into the managed solution. Okay, so I have customized the existing entity using the managed solution. So the moment I will delete that managed solution from my environment, the entity which has been customized will be deleted as well. But in terms of the unmanaged customization, even if you delete the solution, the component of those solutions will not be deleted. You have to go and delete those components manually. So this is also the main difference between how the application behaves in terms of the managed solutions and unmanaged solutions. So there are further few questions that also you should consider while discovering the ALM process. So what is the purpose of the solution type? How to manage solutions? How to versioning the solutions? What is the application lifecycle management, right? So application lifecycle management is important as the applications in your organizations becomes more complex, and as more of your company depends on this, their stability, it can vary from organization to organization, and even within based on the type of solution being built, for example, environments or solution controls or version tracking and their build process. Then further thing is how to get ready for the new application. For example, which license would be requiring for which users, which environment to consider to deploy new application. Does the app support DLP policies or any conflicts with the existing platform behavior? Then how to use DevOps to track and manage deployment. So now DevOps has several features that are tailored to support application lifecycle management. For example, work item planning and tracking and version control, build and release automation. Then how to import, export, update existing application. For example, always save the copy of managed and unmanaged solution. Perform solution checker to verify any errors in the solution, then verifying any dependencies that need to be created in terms of updating the solution or update and publish new version of, of the solution. Then if changes are not reflected, then wait for some time or clear the cache, as Power Apps uses caching mechanism. So for in web and mobile clients. So you should also consider updating an application even it's not changes as a best practice. So you can ensure that application is behaving well and latest runtime change. With latest runtime changes, it even performing well. So further, a question that you need to consider is what is the process for retiring and removing an application. For example, remove an access instead of deleting the application. So then verifying connections dependency before removing the solution. Then keeping a custom connector as it is without any use, because if required in future, it will save configuration time. Then if you have unmanaged solutions, then delete all of its components manually rather than deleting just a solution, as I said earlier. So then further, what are the build tasks in the Power Apps build tools to use in DevOps? So and these are a couple of questions that you should discover before you are, defining the process for the ALM. Now let's move how ALM works in terms of DevOps for the Power Platform. So as we understand that each custom components are residing in the managed solution, because that is what is locked version of your customization. So we need to have a process that perform the deployment, and that's where the DevOps comes in picture. So Azure DevOps, as I said, is a software as a service a platform from Microsoft that provides an end-to-end DevOps toolchain where you create Azure pipelines that connects with your repository and facilitates the continuous deployment. Then you can create Azure dashboard for work items tracking. As you see in the left-hand side on the screen, it's an example of the team status dashboard that gives the team the view of their progress. Well, I have the stand-up meeting. Now, for Power Platform, we need a tool that facilitates other DevOps build tasks, that eliminate the need to manually download custom tooling and scripts to manage the application lifecycle of the Power Apps, right? So use Power Apps build tools to automate common build and deployment tasks related to Power Apps. That includes synchronization of solution metadata between development environment and source control, generating build artifacts, deploying to further environments, the provisioning or deprovisioning of the environment, and even it has the ability to perform static analysis checks against your solution using the Power Apps checker service. So let me quickly move on my DevOps environment, but before that, I would like to show how the solution can be created in the Power Apps. So I will go to the Power Apps portal and go to the solution. And if I click on the new solution, let me give the name M365 demo solution. I can just define any publisher. This is nothing but one of the entities in the CDS. I keep the version as it is and click create. So because I'm creating this solution first time, it will be unmanaged solution, which is where I can either create a new applications or entities or any components or even add the existing components. So let me just quickly add account entity in this and include all of these components of the account entity into this solution, right? So uh, this is a solution with this account entity. I can also add other apps if needed. That is how you create your solution. But now you need to export this because this is still unmanaged. So the moment you export, uh, you first have to publish all your changes, and later it will ask you to some of the properties to be defined to be exported as a managed version. So let's see how long this is going to take now. But anyway, so the moment you export this package, it will be the zip version, which you can actually install as a managed solution into the different environment. Right, so this has been published. I can just define the version and I can export this as a managed solution or even unmanaged solution. So I will keep, because this is recommended and because I want to, let's say, deploy into my production environment, right? So I can just seal this version by specifying the managed and export it and then import into the other environment. And that's how you move your customizations of Power Apps and Power Automate or the serious entities or anything which you can include in the solutions from one environment to another environment. But this is the manual process. Now let's see how you can automate this process. So what you have to do is you have to go to the DevOps. Great, and this is not working. I think I have little issues with my network. Let me try to open in some other browser. So sorry, it's not working. This was really important demo and it's really interesting as well. So anyways, I think I will just explain how that works. Meanwhile, I will keep refreshing if it gets work. And so what you do is you define the pipeline in Azure DevOps, and which is where there are two types of settings that you can define. In the, one is the organization level settings, and another is the project level settings. But the tool which I just talked about, which is a Power Apps build tool that comes up with the build task that you have to install first as an extension in the DevOps organization setting. So um, let me just again try by typing Azure DevOps. Maybe something wrong with the URL. I think the other portal itself, it's down from my side. It's a network connectivity issue. Anyways, so you install this build tools at organization settings. So that will be available then each project which you create in the DevOps, and then in your DevOps project you define the different pipelines. So for example, if you want to migrate solution from one environment to another, you create a pipeline. You then define the jobs where you can have a different task. For example, import solutions or export solutions. You can pack or unpack solutions, which is where you define your environment settings, and then the moment you run this the jobs of the pipeline, all your build tasks will get performed. That will migrate your solution from one environment to another environment. So unfortunately, I'm not able to demonstrate this one because of the network issues. Let's move to the further topics. And I think we have finished the 5-kilometer run in terms of understanding the administration of Power Platform. So these are the couple of points that needs to be noted, which is nothing but the recap of whatever we have discussed. So in terms of environment and security, establish an environment strategy and a process for requesting access for or creation of environment. You set up the data loss preventions and conditional access policies. For COE Starter Kit, as I said many times, understand different components of COE Starter Kit to get more insights and make better decisions for your platform. In terms of monitoring, regularly check the capacity available to ensure new environments can be created by users in your tenant. Regularly review the top storage used by environments to ensure that there are no any environment show up that are not expected, right? So regularly check all those monitoring analytics reports that we have just seen few minutes back. In terms of the auditing, create new alert policy that can be used for ensuring overall health of your citizen app development platform, which is nothing but the Power App platform. And frequently review the auditing data in CDS and Office 365 log search, as it can provide help in troubleshooting the logic problems. Then deployment and ALM, which unfortunately we couldn't see the demo. Familiarize yourself with PowerShell commands against the Power Platform, such as different commands in Office 365, Azure, and PowerShell. Then understand the Power Apps build task to use in your DevOps pipeline. So you need to understand what are those tasks available, which comes with the Power Apps build tools that you install at the organization of your DevOps portal. So at this point, you have grasped, I believe, almost main components and concepts of administering the Power Platform. So the idea is that once you get your knowledge, of course, sharing is caring, right? So you should nurture your colleagues with the Power Platform. So a broader aspect of managing the Power Platform is establishing a Power Platform center of excellence, is the nurture element to continue growth and onboarding of makers and moving your organization to hold a digital culture. For example, evangelize the Power Platform, run internal app or flow in a day workshops, organize the hackathons with real business scenarios, share success stories, hold a show and tell sessions to learn or even learn from others. Then the community development, create an internal community or even Yammer or teams for your champions. Use a teams or SharePoint site to store resources like your own best practices or brand guides. Update your makers or developers about new features in the platform with a monthly newsletter. Then offer individual recognition and career paths, right? And that is how we develop the community. And in terms of training and support, hold drop-in sessions or regular office hours for your makers to ask questions, provide internal learning resources and tracks for beginners, intermediate, and advanced makers. So I think we have almost completed this session, and these are the couple of reference links that you can use and get started. I would suggest to even take the screenshot, although the slide will be shared later with all of you. So there is a Microsoft Docs, licensing guide, hands-on labs, which I would highly recommend to go and check and perform all the labs available from the GitHub. There is a blog that you can keep reading to get the latest updates. There is a plural site course for Power Platform administration. There is a Power Platform adoption framework has been defined, which you can go and check to get the more insights about the adoption of the Power Platform. There is a PowerS community. If you have any questions, you can just post your questions in the forum, and you will have a number of people to help you there. And then if you somehow get into some critical problem, you can just create a support ticket from the Power Platform Admin Center. Then there is a Microsoft Learn, just quickly learning about the Power Platform. You can also find the partners, and if you have any ideas regarding the Power Platform, there are ways to share your ideas with the Microsoft, and Microsoft will work upon it and make it available on the Power Platform. And I have listed down some of the good sessions around the Power Platform administration that you should go and check and to understand better for Power Platform administration and governance. And that's it from my side.